Hello, welcome to this video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to digitize a non-cross-stitch Agbada design. Let's get straight into it. On my software, I'm going to go over to graphics, then come down to import graphic. Then I'm going to go over to the folder where I have the design saved or the artwork. I'm going to select it and then I'm going to open it. So the next thing is to start digitizing. So the first thing I'll be digitizing here is the outline of the Agbada design. I'm going to click on my tool, which is the column C tool. I'm going to select it. Then I'm going to come over here. I'm going to left click, hold down my control key, left click, come over here, left click, come over here, left click, then take it up here, left click, then come over here and then left click, then strike on the enter key 2 times to generate my stitch. Then I'm going to come over here. I'm going to left click, I'm going to right click because there is a curve around here. I'm going to left click, take it all the way down. I'm going to left click, I'm going to right click, right click, right click. I'm going to left click here. I'm going to right click here, left click, right click, right click, right click. I'm going to left click here, take it all the way up. I'm going to left click, I'm going to right click, I'm going to left click, then strike on the enter key 2 times to generate my stitch. Then I'm going to come over here, also trace out the patterns here. I'm going to left click, I'm going to right click, right click, right click, come down here, left click, right click here, left click. I'm going to backspace over here, backspace. Let me zoom in to see what we have there properly. I'm going to left take it all the way, or I'm just going to left click, strike on the enter key 2 times to generate my stitch. I'm going to come down here, I'm going to left click, come down, right click, right click, right click. I'm going to left click here, I'm going to right click, right click, right click. I'm going to left click, right click, right click, right click. I'm going to left click, right click, left click, right click, left click, right click, right click, left click. I'm going to right click, right click, right click, right click. I'm going to left click, take it all the way up. I'm going to left click, strike on enter key 2 times to generate my stitch. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to left click, right click, right click, left click, right click, right click, left click, right click, right click, right click. Left click, strike on the enter key 2 times to generate my stitch. I'm going to come over here. I'm just going to right click here, right click here, right click here, right click here, close it up here, right click, then strike the enter key 2 times to generate my stitch. We have those blur lines fixed. I'm going to select it and then just bring it out from the separate the artwork from the main design. And you see that we have that right there. So the next thing I'm just going to do is just to fill up these spaces. Before then, let me just quickly size my Agbada design. I'm going to select it here. Then normal length for Agbada should be 24 or 25 or 23.5. Depends on the customer's preference. I'm going to make the height of this one 24, and then I'm going to strike on the enter key. Then I'm going to increase the column width of the border lines. Let me just go over, let me just take it to 194. Then I'm going to select this one and this one, and then reduce the column width for others. I'm going to make that 114. Yeah. Then I'm just going to take this up because I want the border line for the neck and then the outside parts to actually be the last thing to stitch. Then I'm just fill up the space. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to click on complex fill tool. Then just trace around the border to fill up the background filling. Left click, right click, right click, right click, left click, right click, left click, right click, right click, right click, left click. Take it all the way up, left click, right click, left click, take it down, left click, right click, left click, strike on the enter key 3 times to generate my stitch. I'm going to select this, take it up, then I'm going to open up the neck area. So I'm just going to select the border line of the neck area. Then I'm going to select the background filling and then come over here and then click on flatten. It's going to open up that space. I'm just going to select this, then delete it. We have that right there. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to trace out the filling on these elements we have here. I'm going to trace out all the fillings we have on these areas. So I'm going to pick my tool, use the complex fill tool. I'm going to start from the top, which is this one. I'm going to left click. I'm going to left click, right click, just tracing around the borderline area. Right click, right click, right click, left click, take it all the way up, left click. I just take it up here, left click, strike on the enter key 3 times to generate my stitch. We have that generated. Let me just change the color to any color. We are still going to change it to the main color, please, brown. Okay, that makes sense. So I'm going to pick my tool again, which is a complex fill tool. Then trace around this borderline. Right click, right click, right click, right click, right click, strike on the enter key 3 times to generate my stitch. I'm going to change that color also to orange. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to pick my tool again, which is a complex fill. I'm going to left click, right click, right click, right click, right click, right click, left click, right click, right click, right click, right click, left click, right click, right click, right click, right click, left click, right click, right click, left click, right click, left click, right click, right click, right click, left click, right click, right click, right click, left click, take it all the way up. I'm going to left click, strike on the enter key 3 times to generate my stitch. I'm going to use my reshape tool over here. I'm going to zoom in, just bring this here, then take this up a little bit. Let me bring this down. I'm going to right click here, bring this down a little bit. Let me change the color to brown. Just making sure we are doing the right thing. We have that right there. Then I'm going to trace out this area we have here. I'm going to pick on my tool, complex fill tool. I'm going to zoom in with letter Z. I'm going to left click, left click. I'm going to right click, left click here. I'm going to right click, left click, right click, right click, right click. I'm going to left click here. Then I'm going to strike on the enter key to generate my stitch. I'm going to select again, change my color to brown. So the next thing I'm going to do is to open up this area on the background filling, or this area that we have another color of filling. So I'm going to open it up on the background filling. So what I'm just going to do, I'm just going to select all these elements that are on the background filling, all these filling that are on the background filling. I'm going to select it. Then I'm also going to select the background filling. Then I'm just going to come over to flatten, come over here and then click on flatten. So it's going to open up that space. Let me take it out so that you can see it properly. Let me select it, take it out. You can see that place is open up. Select it, take it out. You can see it's open. Select, take it out. Select, take it out. You can see we have all those parts open on the background filling. I'm just going to undo to take everything back. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to actually bring all the border lines down. All the border lines, I'm going to take them down here. Then I'm going to apply color. I think we have cream color there. I'm just going to select white and edit it. I'm going to right click on this color palette here and then select this cream color. You can see that's actually changed. And then the next thing I'm going to do is to change the color of the background also. I'm going to select this, then that is that. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to change the stitch effect of the background fill. You can see the stitch effect here. Let me zoom in for you to see. You can see the stitch effect here. So this is the stitch effect we want to do. But what I'm going to do is that I'm going to make the background filling double layers. I'm going to select this and do Ctrl D to duplicate. I'm going to take this back. Then the first filling is going to be Tatami Fill, a very flattened Tatami Fill, so that it's going to reinforce the second stitch effect that is going to run on the background filling. So I'm going to go over to the object properties and click on Fills, click on the drop down menu and select Tatami Fill. So I'm going to select this, make this 0.80, and then this one, I'm just going to make this 0.60. Then I'm going to select this, I'm going to make this 5.00. That makes sense. Then I'm going to come over to the second layer of the background filling. I'm going to select it, click on the drop down menu. Then I'm going to come over here and select Motif Fill. Then we can make it shapes 01 or shapes 2A. So I'm going to click on the drop down menu, come down to shapes 01, select shapes 01. You can see that I think it's actually shapes 01. You can see that. Let me zoom in. Yeah, that makes sense right there. So I'm going to change all the fillings to Tatami Fill. Actually, Tatami, I'm going to go back to object properties, select Fills, click on the drop down menu, and then select Tatami. So I'm going to arrange the start point and end point of all these elements. I'm going to select, I'm going to click on my reshape tool. This signifies the start point. I want it to start here. This plus sign signifies the stop point. I'm going to make it stop here. Then I'm going to come down. I'm going to select this one. This is going to start here and this is going to stop here. That makes sense. I'm going to select this. This is going to start here. I want this to stop here. Then for this one, I want this to start here. And then this is going to stop here. But there's something we're actually missing from this here. I think we're missing something. So I'm going to zoom in. Zoom in. So I think we have some running stitches that actually runs on this cycle here. So I'm going to click on my tool, which is the run stitch. I'm going to select the triple run. I'm just going to trace around this here. I'm going to left click, right click, then left click, strike on the enter key to generate my stitch. I'm going to left click, right click, left click, strike on the enter key to generate my stitch. Start from here, left click, right click, left click, strike on the enter key to generate my stitch. I'm going to left click, right click, left click, strike on enter key to generate my stitch. I'm going to left click here, right click here, left click here, strike on the enter key to generate my stitch. I'm going to left click here, right click here, left click here, strike on the enter key to generate my stitch. I'm going to select it. Let me just quickly group it together so that I'll be able to move it around. I'm going to select it. I'm going to bring it here. Let me zoom in with letter Z. Then I'm going to come over here. I'm going to increase it. Just increase it to make sure it fits properly. Just I'm going to undo, select it here. Then take this up. Then move it here. Down. Take it up. Let me do to fit. I'm going to zoom in again. Come over here. I'm going to select, bring it down a bit. The direction key on my keyboard. Just placing it properly. Then I'm going to bring it here. Let me change that color to cream color. Let me see if it's cream color there. Let me go back to check. Yeah, it's cream color. The cream color. So I'm going to come over here. Then change this to proper orange color. I'm going to come over to the color palette here, right click on it, and then change to proper orange color. We have proper orange color here. Just, trying to edit the colors. I think we have a proper orange color there. I'm going to come over here and click on to fit. We have that right there. Can you see that? That makes sense. I'm going to increase the artwork so you can see. We're going to place it side by side. Take this out, increase the artwork properly for you to see. So you want to learn the proper way to digitize. I've actually created a step-by-step course on how to digitize called Embroidery Mastery. It's going to show you how to properly digitize even if you don't have any background knowledge on digitizing. You can check the link in my bio and send me a WhatsApp message to get started. I'm going to do to fit, then I'm going to place it side by side. Can you see that? So that's basically how to digitize a simple Agbada design in Wilcom EmbroideryStudio. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.